Hello, welcome to this guitar lesson for Sweet Home Alabama by Lynyrd Skynyrd. We're going to be working with a metronome at 60 beats per minute. The original tempo is 98 beats per minute, so we've slowed it right down. And we're working with a metronome because we want to keep our timing in good shape, and we want to develop even better timing as we go on. We're going to start by learning the chords of the song, so as usual, without further ado, let's get zoomed in. If you haven't got my free beginner guitar survival kit yet, you can download that from a link in the description. If you want some chords and lyrics to follow along to with this song, you can find them over on my website. There's also a link in the description to that. All of the chords used in this song are on your screen now, so if you do feel familiar with these chords, then feel free to skip ahead to the structure and strumming section. The first chord we're going to learn here is a D chord. We're going to place our first finger on the second fret of the G string, our second finger on the second fret of the high E, and our third finger on the third fret of the B string. And that gives us a D chord when we strum the thinnest four strings. The next chord we need to know is a C add 9 chord. Our first finger goes to the second fret of the D string, our second finger goes to the third fret of the A string, our third finger goes to the third fret of the B string, and our pinky goes to the third fret of the high E. And that gives us a C add 9 when we strum the 5 thinnest string, so don't strum the thickest string, the low E there. Then to get to the next chord, a G, you simply take those two fingers, these two here, and you move them up towards the ceiling. And then you strum all 6 strings, and that gives you the G chord that we need. The next chord we need to know is an F chord, okay? This might be tricky for some of you, but you have to give this a go. So your first finger is going to bar the first fret of the high E and the B strings. Your second finger is going to be on the second fret of the G, and your third finger is going to be on the third fret of the D. And then we strum 4 strings there. If you are a little bit ahead and you know an F bar chord, you can use that as well. Okay, so that's your F chord there, the one that we're using. Then we want to know a C with an E in the bass. Our first finger will be on the first fret of the B string. Our second finger will be on the second fret of the D string, and we strum the thinnest 4 strings. So we don't strum the thickest 2, the same as the F chord. So in the song, just a quick note here, you're going to be going from F to C with an E in the bass like that. Okay? But if you want to use the bar chord, you'll go from F to a normal C like that. So depending on where you are, you pick out what you want to do. Now, these are the chords for the chorus, okay? And these are power chords. We're going to do the simple 2-note power chord shape. This one here is a D5, okay? If you know the 3-note shape, then you can use those, feel free. First finger on the 5th fret of the A, and then the pinky on the 7th fret of the D. And that there is a D5, a D power chord. Then we hold that shape and we go down 2 frets, and we play the same strings again, and that gives us a C5. And by the way, as you're moving between the D5 and the C5, if the tip of your finger is touching the low E string there, when you're strumming, you shouldn't be able to hear that low E. It should be muted, all right? And then the rest of the muting takes place with the rest, the side of this finger here, stopping the strings below the D string ringing out. So you should just be able to strum freely. Whoops. Should just be able to go between those power chords. Right, the next chord is a G5. All we have to do is move those fingers up towards the ceiling. So our first finger is now on the 3rd fret of the low E, and our pinky is on the 5th fret of the A. So we've gone D, C, G, 5. So the next chord that we need is an F power chord, and in order to get there from the G power chord, we go down 2 frets onto the 1st fret. So the first finger is now on fret 1 of the low E, and the pinky is now on fret 3 of the A. And that gives us the F chord, which is the last chord that we need. Let's now get on to the structure and the strumming. So we're going to start with the intro, and the chord progression all the way through the intro is D, C add 9 and G, okay? And I'm going to teach you two slightly different strumming patterns. One is a little bit more intricate and one is a bit more beginner friendly. This is the beginner friendly one. So to be able to strum all the way through this song, we want to be able to sound something like this. What am I doing there? Let's break it down. I'm holding onto that D chord and then I'm plucking the D string twice. And then I'm plucking the whole D chord. I'm strumming the whole chord after that. So 2 plucks on the D string and then a full strum of the chord. So in terms of timing, that's going to be 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Then what we do is we change to a C add 9 chord and we do the same thing, except now we're not plucking the D string anymore because that's not our bass note of the chord anymore. We're going to be plucking the A string now, okay? But doing the same thing, 3 and 4, 3 and 4, bass note, full chord. So putting those two together, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, all right? And then we switch to the G chord and do the same thing. And again, our bass note has moved. So our bass note is now here, the 3rd fret of the low E string. So let's run that through 4 times to a metronome at 60 beats per minute. And 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 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 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Okay. So let's try and make that a little bit more intricate. And again, don't worry if you can't do this, because this might take a little bit of extra time, but this is just something I'm chucking in there just in case you want to have a go. We're going to introduce some palm muting and make this sound just a little bit more rhythmical. Okay, palm muting is where we take this part of our palm, not the big part, okay, like the side of our palm, right, the fleshy side of our palm, and we place it near the bridge. And when we place that flesh on the strings, it produces a muting effect on the strings. So if I now play the D chord, can you hear how much more dull that actually sounds because of the palm muting? And really, what we want to do is we only want to be palm muting the D string. So as long as your D string is making this noise, you're getting it right, okay? Because those first 2 notes of the chord, where we only play the bass note, are going to be palm muted, and then the chord is going to be normal. So we've got to put our hand down, 1 and lift our hand up, 2 for the full chord, all right? 1 and lift the hand, 2, 1 and 2. Gives you a nice percussive effect, and the same on the next chord, 3 and 4. And then the same on the G chord, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So it might take you a bit of time to work on that palm muting, so feel free to pause if you need to. Let's do it at 60 beats per minute. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 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 2 and 3 and 4 and that is how we introduce the palm muting there. And that is for the whole of the intro. Now the verse comes in at 22 seconds and you're going to do all of that once again, okay? So the whole progression goes around 4 times: D, C add 9, G, G, and you do it 4 times in a row, just like you did for the intro. Then you get to the interlude at 42 seconds, which is the... For that section, you can just play the same chord progression, but you just play it round twice, okay? Then we get to verse 2, which is at 51 seconds into the song. And verse 2 is exactly the same as verse 1. So we just go... And we go around that 4 times, all right? So you can see how it's a very repetitive song, but when we get into the chorus, we're going to do something slightly different to mix it up a little bit. The chorus comes in at 1 minute 11 seconds, okay? And we're going to start using our power chords now. So we're starting with that D5 power chord here. And we're going to apply the same principle. Now, if you've got a hold of that palm muting and you can do it, then great, go ahead. If you haven't, just keep going anyway and do it without the palm muting. You know, everyone progresses at different speeds, and it's totally fine if you haven't got it yet, because these things do take time. All right, don't let that ruin your fun of playing the guitar. So we use the D5 chord, and we're going to pluck the first 2 notes of the D5 chord, the 2 bass notes, and then we release and play the whole chord. Now, there's a couple of things about power chords that you need to know. First thing is, the first finger should hopefully be touching the bottom of the low E there to stop that from coming through. You want that to be muted. And then the bottom side of your first finger here should be hopefully muting the higher strings. I'm going to show you what it's like when you don't mute the higher strings. Can you hear them all ringing through now? But if I lower that first finger and the tip of it is touching the low E, I get a nice clean power chord, okay? So it's going to be mute, mute, strum. Then we take it down to a C power chord, which is 2 frets lower, mute, mute, strum. Very similar to the verses and everything we've done before. Then we move it up towards the ceiling and do mute, mute, strum, mute, mute, strum. And we go through that chord progression 3 times, but on the 4th time we end it slightly differently. And when we get to the end of it on that 4th time, we're going to go F, C. Okay, F is right down here on the 1st fret, F, and then C is on the 3rd fret of the A string. So let's go through that whole progression with a metronome at 60 beats per minute. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and F, C, and then you'd be back into your, well actually after that is the solo. The solo comes in at 1 minute 30 seconds into the song, and for the solo we're just going to do what we did in the verse, D to C add 9 to G, and we go around that twice, so I'll just finish that off. Then we get to verse 2, which is at 1 minute 41 seconds, and there is a slight difference in verse 2. Mostly it's the same, but on the very first time round we go D, C add 9, G, and this is where we do our F, C. So if I was to sing the words, you might recognise that a bit better. Birmingham, they love the governor. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, hope my voice isn't too ropey today. But it's there when on the ooh, 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 that's where you're going to go F, C, D, or rather F, C with an E in the bass, D. Or again, if you're doing the bar chords, it would just be a straight F, C, D. And then the rest of the verse is exactly the same. It's just D to C add 9 to G, and exactly the way we've been doing it. Then we get to the second chorus, which is 2 minutes into the song, and again we go to our power chords, and it's exactly the same as the first chorus. And just like the first chorus, we end with the F and C power chords, you know. Sweet home Alabama. And then the last time, Lord, I'm coming home to you. F power chord, C power chord, back to the D. The D down here. And that there is the second solo, which is at 2 minutes 20 seconds into the song. And all you have to do for that second solo is, you probably guessed it, D, C add 9, G, G. Again, same as we've done before, but we do it 8 times now, okay? And then after the second solo, it goes straight into another interlude, and once again, okay? That's at 2 minutes 59 seconds, and we do the same 3 chords, and we do them 2 times round. Then we're into verse 4 at 3 minutes 9 seconds. Same chord progression again, but 4 times round. Then we're into chorus number 3, and you guessed it, it's the same as the previous choruses. Chorus number 4 is at 3 minutes 48, which again is the same as the previous choruses. And then we've got the outro piano solo at 4 minutes 8 seconds, and at that point you can come and do the power chords again. If you have any questions about this particular version of the song, then pop some questions in the comments. I really do want to hear from guitar players on the other side of the world and how you guys are getting on. And if you did find any value in this, please hit the like button and let other people know that you found value in this, so they can find value in it too. And don't forget to download your free beginner guitar survival kit. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.